Hello, everybody. Welcome in to episode 57 of the Fuzed Relativity podcast. And that's a nice start. Can't talk. Sounds about right for a podcast, you know.
Yeah. Well, I unmuted you just as soon as you cleared your throat. So, I hit unmute and then you cleared your throat.
Oh, professional. That's how we
Yes.
do it. All right.
So,
So this week as you can see, we have another guest to join us for the show, which is Fuse Crafts, aka John's wife, Danielle. Danielle, welcome to the
Hey,
show.
well, thank you.
also in great spirit of the Fused Relativity podcast, she was trying to join the stream or to get everything set up. Her computer decided to restart and is still updating. It's been a half an hour.
Feels like 20 years.
Seems like a running thing for like the curse of the guest, because Kirk used to have that problem all the time, and took us a while to get the Kiwi in. It's like the powers that be just don't want us to have guests, apparently.
Well, and Danielle's special because she's normally working at this time, so.
That is very true. Nice to be on vacation for once.
Danielle, why don't you let everybody know, what do you do?
So I actually work with my husband in the hospital. So I was
No.
what?
As in like the crafts part.
Oh, okay. Sorry, ignore that part. So basically, I do sewing, do a resin stuff. So as you can see with my image right here, it's a cat that's gonna turn into a keychain. Do obviously resin trinket trades. I'm getting into gosh, I feel like I do a bunch of stuff. Of course, John's making these amazing UV resin, not UV resin, I'm sorry, resin earrings. So just a bunch of crafty stuff.
I want to break down the process that me and Daniel work at. So when she started doing these crafty stuff, it was bath bombs. Then we progressed to bar soap. Then we can.
Oh yeah.
No. It was soap or candles. Yeah, it was candles. Then it was soap. Then it was sewing. Then it was embroidery. Then it was resin.
Now it's polymer clay.
Yeah, now it's polymer clay. At least I stick to just one. Granted, I have like 4 3D printers now, but
it's funny how hobbies go, right? You get into these things, and then they either cost you a lot of money to get into and upkeep, or you're constantly evolving. And so does the technology. So then you're constantly updating and upgrading and finding new things to do. It's like a never-ending process.
That's me. Oh, don't forget the Cricut. The HTV and all that stuff too. Don't forget Cricut. Yeah, bring that in there.
And the pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that was short-lived, kind of.
Well, Fuse Crafts does have a YouTube channel, and I like to cruise on there every now and then and see what kind of projects you're getting into. I still like that popsicle. That one was my favorite.
I totally forgot about that one. I need to get back into doing that.
Yeah,
it's just so much project I want to do, and I just feel like I have no time.
Yeah, and it's something different. That's a good talking point to begin with, because we've both started doing TikTok videos, and they don't exactly translate to YouTube video. Like, we could do a video on, the cool color or dual color extrusion filament that I'm printing with right now, but it's And
well, I've got 3-color extrusion.
No. So it's filament that has 2 colors in it. I don't know if you.
Oh, the 615 or the changing 15.
Yeah, the one that the kids You know what? I'll get a picture of it in a little bit.
Well,
I'm waving my phone to my daughter, who is sitting over there, who can take a picture of the frog There we go. Okay.
Stalling.
Well, it's going to be later on. It'll take a few minutes for me to get it set up.
Well, that's okay, because I really have to know, John. Our title of our episode this week was "The Mouse Owns It All," and based off of what we talked about and what I kind of figured it was a Disney reference,
It's
I
not.
don't know where we're going with this, so I'm excited to see where your talking point goes this week.
All right. So it was brought up. I follow a lot of 3D printing, or people who 3D print. And sorry, just take a few pictures of different angles. She just took one, and it doesn't really show off what the filament does. But so one of the creators that I follow, who's moderately big, was asking, like, I would love to make these articulated Pokemon and everything, but how do you have the rights to make the files? Which, the way he worded it, I don't think he meant people who make it and give it away. I think he just meant people who sell the files and sell the prints. Because technically, yes, I cannot sell anything that is related to Pokemon or Animal Crossing or anything like that, because it's it's trademarked. It's copyrighted. But then it's a weird dilemma, because if it wasn't for people making stuff with copyrighted items and putting it out there for free, 3D printing would have been dead in the water. Like, it would have taken off, but it would have been the lowest level consumer products probably would have been the Ultimakers, or the $3,000 to $4,000 machines, because if you were going into it for 3D printing, you would have had to have only printed stuff that was IP free or copyright free, which is,
and it's not a wide how do I want to say that? It's a widespread issue, but it's not. It's only a certain amount of companies that actually care. Because I know Printables just got hit by Honda. Honda came in and said you need to take down anything related to Honda.
Which is weird, because if you look at Ford, they're the exact opposite.
Well, that's what I mean. Each company kind of dictates how they want to go at it. Like, going back to Disney is one of those companies that will bend you over the table if you try and sell something that's trademarked or copyrighted to them.
But they haven't. Like, I can pull up Colts right now. Colts.
Well, but that's I'm talking about the sale.
I know.
Not just the free stuff. No.
I'm looking at right now Mickey Mouse. There is a Mickey Mouse in a wizard outfit for $217. This was uploaded a year and a half ago.
Okay, so maybe Disney just doesn't.
No,
it's just not the place that they want to throw their time and effort.
But see, that's the problem. Is it's technically you are infringing on copyright. It is copyright infringement, with which I agree with. The problem I have with it is, it needs to be it's right now, it's in kind of a moral gray area, like a legal black area. It's my thoughts on this is, if you're ripping something completely from a game and uploading it and all of that you did nothing to, and trying to sell it, that's you did nothing. If you're like the articulating onyx that I printed, should they be allowed to sell it? I personally think yes. Is Pokemon Company or Game Freak going to come out and sell specific articulating files for 3D printing? No. It is very unlikely they will ever see that as a profitable area and go after it. Like, I think as long as you're not infringing on an area that a company is in, it's an issue that needs to be brought up. The laws just aren't caught up to digital creating.
Well, and I mean, even Danielle, you should know from Etsy, for people who do SVGs for cricket and stuff, you can go on Etsy and find SVGs for Disney, or I mean, I saw somebody was selling NFL team SVGs, and I'm like, how are you people getting away with this? But it could be they're just saying, come get me.
Well, and that's why I took a issue with it. It's like I understand it's an issue. His problem is he would like to get a hold of that market share too. He just doesn't want to risk his company doing it, and I get that.
Make those 2 mozzarella sticks.
We have.
That's very nice of you to give it to her, okay? I don't think so.
We had a kid interrupt.
It happens. But yeah, so you figure the problem is it's too widespread at this point, right? Because so many people are putting up these copyrighted images and 3D files and all this. It's kind of hard to police it when there's so many people doing it, kind of like Napster and all those pirating websites. I mean, they eventually got it down, but look
they
how
didn't.
many people.
The pirate bay's still active.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that just leads to my point is you can try and get rid of it, but someone else is coming right afterwards. I mean, worst case scenario, you get a cease and desist and then you have to stop. And then you make a new account and do it all over again. I mean, it's just one of those, like you said, it's a gray area, but it's not. It's if you're following the rules, then you wouldn't do anything that's copyrighted. But most people don't follow the rules. They just hope they don't get caught.
Here's the thing, like one of the comments or one of the things that was brought up is that t-shirt companies get hit all the time with this. See, and that makes sense to an extent because, Pokemon sells t-shirts. The thing that I don't agree with is you're not going to get. There's definitely an area of artistic interpretation that goes into it. Like, there's some shirts, like I'm assuming my Carnage and Venom shirt that I have right now, it was probably not licensed by Sony. It might have been, but I'm going to doubt it.
Well, I mean, my case in point would be, okay, so our Fuzed Relativity and Fuzed Crafts logos were designed by you and made by you, correct?
Yep. But I used I used someone else's tutorial. So, is that technically his copyright? Because I pretty much just copied it letter by letter.
Well, but okay, I didn't know that, but don't ruin my argument here. So this is our brand and our logo, right? So you take that and somebody tomorrow steals it and says, I'm going to use this and make money off of it. Are you going to be upset by that?
No, it's a black hole. Like, the only thing that I would say is unique about our logo is how I angled the words.
Right, but if I'm saying someone took a screenshot of our logo and used it and sold it and made money off of it, you'd be pissed about that because you'd say, that's my logo. I made that and you're making money off of it somehow. That's not right.
Yeah, especially since we haven't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, besides the point. But I don't know. It's, to me, I'm a by the rules kind of guy, so I think that
I agree. I am too. That's why I have a hard time with like I made that Pokeball mimic and I would love to sell it. It would sell like crazy. Obviously I can't.
See, I think you could get away with that one and it probably wouldn't. You would have to call it something other than a Pokeball.
Well, I changed the color to green or like hot pink and the bottom to black. I think that's actually a Pokeball. I was going completely at random and I think pink top and black bottom is the love ball. But Yeah, there's ways around it, obviously, but that's just gray area. Like,
Yeah, and that's how most people work in the fringe. I mean, it's just it's
but
a
see,
conceptual thing that you just don't. Are you willing to skirt the rules a little bit, or are you going to play it straight laced and just follow every single rule to the letter? Well,
here's
most people don't care.
my other thing. Um, if I'm trying to think of and type at the same time, if there was a ball that was red on the top and blue on, oh yeah, there is. I found one. It's a cricket ball. So if I made a cricket mimic, it just happens to look like a Pokeball. Can the Pokemon Company sue me? Sure. Can they say, hey, that's too close to a Pokeball? And I can be like, pull up the image of a cricket ball and be like, no, it's a cricket ball. It's not to mention the fact that it's, only half of the trademark is Pokemon. The other half's D&D, like the Wizards of the Coast, because Mimic is entirely owned by them.
Well, but look at it from this side. We have our intro music that me and Kirk created on our own accord, music that we produced by ourselves. Theoretically, someone could come through and DCMA that.
Yes.
Even though it's not their music, it was something that me and Kirk created. They could say, well, it sounds awfully similar to whatever song they come up with that they own the rights to. It's how much they want to go after somebody, because if you think about all the songs in the world that have the G chord or the E chord or whatever, you could theoretically link a song to almost anything. So it's all about, am I going to win? If I'm a big company and I want to tell you to take it down, is it going to work? That's the thing that people are looking at now. Your mimic ball, if let's say you put it online for $1 and you sold 250, yeah, Game Freak or whoever's not going to care. But let's say you sell 5 million, now they're going to pay attention.
Here's the thing though, is D&D and Pokemon ever going to do a crossover event? No. And that brings up another point of, like, specifically with like D&D and Warhammer, all of the D&D minifigures that are out there are technically IP theft. Now you could argue, oh, it's artistic interpretation, like the book only describes what a frost giant looks like, or the book only describes what a mimic looks like. It's still technically owned by them. They're the ones, like, obviously they can't. Frost giant was a bad idea because that's, all over history. But like mimics or mind flayers, stuff that is specific to D&D is copyrighted and they hold the IP for it. So technically, everyone that makes and designs something that looks like a mind flayer is breaking Wizards of the Coast's copyright.
Right. Well, Danielle, once again, because you're so big into the crafts, where do you stand? I mean, you can kind of feel free to answer, but do you use copyrighted stuff, or do you skirt the line and play by the rules?
I'm kind of more play by the rules because, going back with the Etsy thing, I've seen so many people like literally take, especially when Baby Yoda became a huge thing. They literally went after everybody like, you need to take this stuff down. Whereas I kind of try to be myself. I try to be, God, what I'm looking for? I try to be unique. I try not to I don't like to follow or use other things if I can help it. If it's like for a friend, great, not a problem. If they like Beauty and the Beast, okay, it's just for the friend. I'm not making a bunch of them to sell it. I'm more like, I like to make my own stuff. I don't want to try and take Disney, take Star Wars, take any of that. I want to do my stuff. So yeah, if it gives me ideas and it kind of flows with like maybe Star Wars or something, great. But it's not true to Star Wars.
Right.
But it just like, Yeah, it's just like I try to keep under the radar, basically. I try not to follow what everybody else is doing. I try to stay outside the box, if that makes sense, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know, like, just from my little experience with cricket, from what my wife does, it is not that hard to pirate things. Even if it's got watermarks and crap on it, you can totally jack that off the internet and do
Oh
whatever
yeah,
you want with it. So, it's to me, it seems like if you are willing to go through the effort to try and pirate something like that, then most people are just going to sell it and see if any ramifications come from it. Because normally, like I said, your worst you're going to get is a cease and desist. Pull it
yeah,
down. Don't sell it anymore.
for sure.
And
But
is
see,
this?
that's my whole issue with it is, like, I think the regulations need to change, and as much as it will pain you, I think companies need to back the fuck off. Like, the reason Mickey Mouse is still relevant is because Disney has paid politicians to change the rules for years. Mickey Mouse should have gone public domain 50 years ago almost. Like, that's my thing is,
But you might be talking to the wrong guy, because when you said that, all I could think of was, well, it's their idea. Quit trying to make money off of something that somebody else came up with.
they're dead. The person that made that is long since dead.
I know. But well, my point was going to be that
Well,
I don't know that you should theoretically. That's a slippery slope if you start saying that. Oh, I came up with an idea, and it's mine, and I want to make money off of it. But now everybody can use it. Maybe if you're talking 50 years later, kind of like the public domain kind of thing.
but here's the thing. Like, I understand that, if I make a title and it gets, if I make merchandise for it, like if we made shirts and stuff, and someone came along and was like, I like your stuff, I'm going to make a plushie. Are we going to ever enter the plushie space? Probably not. We're
If I get good at it.
no. Sorry. I'm talking in theoreticals here. Like, if we had a product and we made merchandise for it and we stayed in one lane and we were only doing that, like, let's take Pokemon. They're making games, they're making toys, they're making clothing, stuff like that. Are they making artwork? Not really. So,
Well, but then again, so let's say you come up with, let's go back to your mimic ball here. Okay, so you made this thing, you designed it. Let's say you put it up online, and when you put up your design, you say no commercial license, right? You're not giving people commercial license to sell it.
which is what I did.
Right. So let's say all of a sudden you go on TikTok tomorrow, and somebody who bought your design then turned around and has made $500,000 off of it. You're going to be pissed.
No, because I put the Pokeball Mimic out there. I'm not going to be pissed. Nintendo might be.
No, I'm saying this is your design that's not, we're saying that I'm using this as a reference to say that this is your design. You've made it to be, it's free.
You're
and clear.
arguing this against the wrong person. Because space communism.
So you're saying that let's say you make a widget, right?
You realize I'm gonna stop you because you're gonna continue this argument and you're going to. My whole point of Free the Games was to release games that were public domain and free.
So you don't care about the money. You're just saying
no, because
okay.
there's alternative ways to make money. Like, I understand that, and I don't think, like, this is where we differ on that level. I'm a designer. You want to be a producer. You want to be production, whereas I'm the design. Is there some designs that I would like to reserve and sell? Absolutely.
Right.
But
So if you take one of those designs and you sell it, and then somebody who's more popular than you sells it on their accord, and they make a ton of money off of your design, you can say whatever you want. That's going to really bum you out.
no, because we live in a capitalist hellhole where I can sue them for damages.
Maybe. I
No,
mean,
no.
and you can, no, you absolutely can, but it's
See,
going to take a heck of a lot of time and money to do so.
no, because what you said is that I made a thing, released it as no commercial, can't sell it, all of that.
Right.
They sold it and have physical proof of how much money they made. I can say,
Right.
okay, that's all mine. That's all my money now. So
Right, which is what you're complaining that Disney and all these other companies are doing at this moment. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
I caught you in a little bit of a trap there, but
no, you didn't. I'm saying I'm giving you what recourse I could take. If I sold some, my thing is, if I sell something, it's going to be with commercial licenses attached. You're assuming that I don't want other people to make it and sell it, which is wrong. Because as a designer, I am never going to produce it. The only money I'm going to make is people buying it to sell it. I can see where
we don't see on the same wavelength on that one, because I'm saying if you have a good enough idea that someone is willing to buy it and then turn around and make a lot of money off of it, I would milk that cow until there's nothing left.
Exactly, by selling the file. See, that's the thing. You're thinking very, very small when it comes to this. Like Hex 3D, which has a Patreon with a public hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Has a public display of how many Patreons he has, and he only has one tier of Patreon, and that's $10 to get the commercial license to his designs. He has 7,000 Patreons, which is $70,000. He is making $70,000 a month just designing and letting everyone else sell. Do you think he's a little upset that he's not making the 100 or 200,000 that all 50 or all 7,000 people that are selling are making a month?
Well, he's got a good enough design that people want to, if he was to run the whole gamut and produce and sell, look at where he'd be, but he's not doing that.
Well,
so I call
realistically,
that guy lazy.
Okay, so realistically, you're going to say that he has the ability to to print and sell at that level, like.
Well, probably not. But
So,
if you're making 70 G's a month, you can make it happen. Now,
well,
if you're making 70 G's a month, you don't need to make it happen. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of money a month. And that's okay, good for that guy. He's doing very well for himself. And so, yes, I see the side of all he has to do is design. And he can make a very good living off of just designing and let people sell the stuff that he designs because he doesn't care.
Well, here's the other one. Her name is Cinderwing 3D. I think she's rather recent, but she just makes dragons, especially the ones that have been prevalent all over TikTok and all over Etsy. She has 1,000 Patreons at $10. 1,700 Patreons at $10 a month. Now, realistically, I'm going to break this down because Kirk's not here and he won't complain about math. So she would have to sell, and this is just by selling 425 dragons a month, which means she'd have to make 14 dragons a day, which means she would have to have 14 printers at least. Realistically, she'd be probably closer to 16, 17, and they'd have to be going constantly. This is where we differ in that, yes, you can set up a farm. Yes, you can get it going. You have to have the money to do that first. and then you can't be a designer. Because one of my biggest complaints with Hex 3D is that some of his designs don't work. Not to mention the fact that they're steeped in IP. Like, he has a whole set of baseballs that have the logos on them. Which, I wouldn't touch those with a 10-foot pole.
Well, but once again, this guy clearly is only focused on money. In this respect, he's designing so that people will buy his stuff. So he's doing, he's saying, look, people might want baseballs because it's baseball season. So, he's skirting those rules. And guess what? The MLB is probably never going to notice because they're not in the 3D printing world. They don't care.
And that's my point. Ha! Got you, kind of. But no, that's my point is the MLB is never going to be in the 3D printing market. They sell merch. They sell, trinkets and jerseys and all that shit. They are not going to enter into the 3D printing space. Will they see the baseballs and likely try and strike them down from Etsy? Sure. Are they going to go to craft fairs across the world and try and say, hey, you can't sell those at this craft fair? Absolutely not.
That's a lot of craft fairs to go to.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said earlier, that's where most people are banking on the fact that they can put this stuff wherever they please and they're never going to get caught because it's not necessarily part of, like you're saying, oh, well, if it's not in the right industry, then who cares what I do with it? But I don't know. I'm on the business side of saying this is mine.
I get that, but I also want to point out that Cinderwing has a file, Crystal Dragon. She put it up at the beginning of the year. She's made $50,000 off of it.
Okay.
Off one file that she put on. Now, have people made way more than 50? Sure. Is the cap going to be, would she have made more money if she never released it, just sold it on Etsy? Absolutely not. The reason it got popular is because everyone started printing it and it got saturation. See, and that's the thing that I am seeing with my area of social media. If I create this really badass design like that honeycomb sword that I designed and put it on Etsy, it may sit on Etsy like our honeycomb cups. They sat there for 3 months and then I got 2 orders back to back.
Yes.
Now, if I had released that file for free, said sell it however you want, or put that file up and said it's $1, and someone was scrolling Colts and was like, that looks really cool, I'm going to download it and sell it. And then someone else said, oh, that looks really cool, I'm going to download it, sell it, and make a video on it. And it starts spreading. People are going to keep buying my cup. Now, would it potentially get popular on Etsy? Sure. If I had kept selling it, I might have sold 10 by now and made a whole $70. But in that scenario, it would have been wiser for me just to put it on and hope that it, took off with people buying it and making videos out of it.
Yeah, I think it all depends on what side of the fence you lean on. As far as we both know that I'm more pro business, so I think that if you come up with an idea and it's great, it's yours and people shouldn't steal it. But
here's the thing. So I'm going to wrap it around. So let's say I take this Pokeball, this Pokeball mimic that I have no rights to, and I released it for free, which I already have. It's on my printables.com file and Thingiverse. Just search Pokeball mimic. And someone looks at it and is like, oh, that's a cool idea. I kind of want to make it into a shirt. Do I have any right to the Pokeball mimic? Absolutely not. Do they have rights to make it into a shirt? Probably not. Like I said, if I were to sell it, would Nintendo or Wizards of the Coast care? No. Potentially no, especially Wizards of the Coast, because they already allow people to make use of their IP. The one that would potentially have a problem is Game Freak, and I've changed that to be not, it's noticeable as a Pokeball, but it's not a Pokeball anymore. So
You know the funniest part of this whole conversation that we're having is when you told me IP theft, I was thinking so much differently.
and not Pokemon
I was
and
yeah, I was thinking of IP as in like IP addresses, not intellectual property.
oh yeah, no.
Because that's what now you can see why I was confused how Disney and IP theft were to run together.
Well, I mean that's still possible. Let's okay, before we close out, we have talked all over Danielle. Do you have any comments or thoughts to add to our rambling of mostly me just berating?
Nothing that comes to mind.
See,
she said you're wrong. That's what she
But-
I
said.
did not say that.
you know, the funniest thing to me, the absolute funniest thing to me is that this guy who made this claim, his claim to fame is that he makes desktop organization things for weed. It's just like,
Oh, that's great. Told me that.
yeah, it's like it's just an organizer for all the cannabis tools and stuff you might have. Like he's got jars and shit. It's specifically designed for that. He can't call it that because, you know, that's federally illegal. You can't sell drug paraphernalia. But, you know, that's a gray area that's okay. Making an articulated Geodude isn't. That's why I found it so funny.
Well, switching over to a new topic just because it's that's what we do.
Well,
Danielle, what's your favorite planet? I just got to ask.
My favorite planet?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Huh.
You've put her on the spot.
I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. To be really honest, I always thought, especially when I was growing up, is Saturn. I don't know why. I think it's probably because the rings and everything. I've always loved Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn's a pretty solid answer. Most people like Saturn.
Saturn, and then gosh, oh my god, I'm gonna sound so stupid because I should know my planets and everything. Which one is the one with the I call it the red eye?
Yeah, Jupiter.
Jupiter, that's what it is. Gosh, you think I would know my planets by now?
Especially since you watched Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I know.
So
Which I got the kids into. Go me.
The reason I asked that was because did you see, John, that they are actually starting the next telescope already?
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, once they got the James Webb up in the air, they decided it was time to move on to the next. They're already building it. Kind of crazy. They didn't wait long.
Oh, she'll be like 20 years before they launch it.
Yeah, they said they would be getting high res pictures at high speeds, unlike what they're getting from the Hubble and the James Webb.
See, again, that wiggles back to my criticism of NASA is that they're fucking stuck in the 70s. Like, we've already said.
We should have a webcam like you were talking about, a live feed off of a satellite by now. Come on, people.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's depressing.
Yeah.
So,
But
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say the other thing that I was looking at this week was that the Artemis mission is taking shape. They're actually projecting it to be on time now, I think.
It'll never
It's kind of cool. Whether or not SpaceX gets there first, I don't know. They can't seem to get an actual flight of their Starship yet, but
that's not their fault though.
No, and that's Elon's a little preoccupied with Twitter at the moment.
No, it's not even. It's what's her name? Shotwell. No, it's once Starship goes up, and that's the thing. Once it goes up, it's over. It's Artemis is dead. Most of the commercial, if Starship is operational, almost all commercial satellites currently being worked on are done. Not satellites, rockets. Sorry.
And the worst part is 2021 seemed to have a lot of space news going on. Like there was things happening almost daily. And it's been pretty slow for the last month and a half as far as space news is concerned.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing catch up from 2020.
Nah. It's
Even
just
unless it's the people who keep saying that Russia's going to crash the space station into Earth.
they.
Yeah.
I mean,
There was a whole video on it about what would happen if it crashed into Los Angeles. I don't know. It was kind of like an Armageddon movie, I guess.
sure. It's not gonna do. I mean, it'll do a lot, but most of it's designed to burn up, and the rest will be insignificant.
But that was the one bright spot that I did see was that they were working on the next telescope, which I haven't really seen much from the James Webb yet. And it's also the coldest thing in the universe, or not the universe, but it's like the coldest robot in the sky, I guess.
I mean, that makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah. Take that for what it is. I know that doesn't really matter to a piece of machinery, but
Not usually, no.
unless you're that crazy one on Mars, the rover that we like to talk about that was. I still have nightmares about that thing. Why you gotta give it feelings? Stop it. Danielle, in case you didn't know, one of the rovers that they had on Mars, they programmed it because they give them like Twitter feeds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was the name of that one, John? It was Curiosity.
Is
No,
it? I was gonna say Curiosity too, but it's not Curiosity. I don't remember. I usually don't.
anyway.
Yeah.
So this thing, one of the last thing it said, because it was running out of power, and it's what's the solar panels were covered with dust, and it was basically dying.
No.
Yeah, and the last thing it said was it's getting dark and my batteries are low.
That's kind of creepy.
I know,
And
right?
it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie or something, like you said, Armageddon or one of those spacey videos.
That's why I said I'm like, don't give the robots feelings because that's too real. I don't need it to be telling me that
Yeah.
it's dying. Just shut
Yeah.
down and stop.
Yeah. No, that's just kind of creepy, and just kind of goes to the heart a little bit because it's just especially my line of work, like outside my craftness, it's just I deal with enough of that.
Yep. Don't need it.
No, not really.
What else do you got, John? I think that was the bulk of what I had this week.
It relates back to Disney, which is why I named it The Mouse Owns It All. I wanted to bring to light how special some Republicans are, like specifically DeSantis. The reason being, I don't know if you heard the news, they're trying to get rid of all of Disney's or Disney World's special stuff that they gave.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's all because Disney came out, and said, "Hey, we're not in favor of that law," and they took it upon them to take on the mouse. And a company as big as Disney, a lot of people pointed out the last time Disney had an issue, they spent $70 billion.
Well, yeah, they don't. I mean, they're so big, they don't have, and you think like Johnny Cochran's a good lawyer. You should see the lawyers they have,
yeah.
they,
Well, not
I
only
mean,
that, I guarantee you there is money from the mouse in almost every politician's pocket.
well, because it came out, I don't know if you saw that, uh, our governor just would put a proposal together to put a Disney World like, well, not Disney World like a Disney attraction in the mountains, and like a mile or whatever altitude Disneyland or whatever.
Ugh.
So, they're even trying to bring it in our backyard.
See, the problem with Disney World is it's warm. It needs to be warm. It needs to be a year-round thing. We're not year-round.
So during the winter time, you just open up a ski resort, Disneyland ski resort.
No, I agree, and here's the thing though, and this is what was brought. This is what I looked up, and some of the people were talking about. Disney World makes Disney World makes Disney absolutely no money. Like, it makes money. They make $3 billion off of it, but that's nothing. Like, that's pennies to them in a global term. The fact that DeSantis is trying to remove the special, all the governance stuff, means that he's screwing over everyone in that county, because all of their taxes are going to go up. I think it was like $2,000.
Sure.
Which is the number I heard. Like, that's a massive increase because the governor has a problem with the mouse.
Did you know, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but growing up, I never knew this, but Epcot?
Yeah.
Do you know what Epcot is? Like, what it was built to be?
It was the World's Fair, right?
No, so Epcot was actually built as its own little community. And I can't remember. It's like something community of tomorrow. But basically they built this community to be like a 50s neighborhood, like white picket fences, and everybody had a clean house, and it was like supposed to be a venture into like, this is how we're going to progress and live as one community in the United States. And it totally never got there.
Of course not.
But I was kind of surprised. I made it to 30 something years old before I realized that Epcot was actually something. I just thought it was where they did rides.
Oh, yeah. Now, it's I don't know. It's just funny because a lot of the other things that were coming out were like Disney. All they have to do, like the thing with the law in Florida, as far as I understood, and by far as I understood, I watched like a TikTok video on it, is the special county or the special permits that Disney has were given by the state. But any county can give the special permits. So if they are able to pull the ones from the state, Orange County is just going to give it to them. And will likely be whoever the governor or whatever of that area is, will likely be, Disney's pick for whatever. Not to mention the fact that the mouse is now going to probably fund every one of the people that voted for the special, that's voting against them, their competitors. Like, especially if they line up with Disney's values of making lots of money.
It's funny how that really grinds your gears sometimes. Like, you were kind of against Disney in the beginning, and now you're kind of standing for them based off of one side or the other. But
no, I'm not. I don't agree that companies should be able to do this. I'm saying that it is like I know I'm calling the Republicans that are doing this dumb because they're picking a fight with a corporation that has deep pockets. Like that never goes well.
No.
Especially since, and everyone's like, well, this is why we shouldn't have, companies shouldn't be allowed to lobby and all this stuff. And I agree. And then it's space communism.
Your views on the I never knew you were so like anti-Disney and
Oh, it's more, I'm not really anti-Disney. It's just they are, when we were growing up, Microsoft was seen as this evil bad company because they sold you computers with Internet Explorer on it. Now we have companies that are buying up everything. Like, I understand Disney's not a monopoly, but Microsoft wasn't a monopoly at the time either. Like, I don't know. I'm definitely against mega corporations, that's for sure.
Well, let's cheer that. Well, I was going to say let's cheer this up a little bit, but Danielle, since you're our guest, and I figured I'd keep throwing questions at you to put you on the spot.
Oh, thanks.
Is Toy Story 3? This made me think of Disney, John. When is Toy Story 3 not the most heart-wrenching movie ever?
Oh my god, I think I wanted to cry when I watched it. I mean, it's been a while, but I do remember parts of it, and it just like tore me.
Yeah,
Because like one of those movies that you kind of grow up with, and especially what I'm surprised now they're bringing kind of back, but remaking them too with movies that I grew up with, and our kids get to kind of see them, or they're revamping up or something. But yeah, Toy Story 3, that was definitely a tear wrencher there for me. I will have to admit that one.
We brought that up before because I something about that movie, just like I'm a 30-something-year-old man who was willing to cry at an animated movie because terrible.
Here, I've got a question too.
Oh god.
Are the prequels and sequels to Star Wars bad because they're movies?
Are you talking about like, oh my gosh, what chapter was that one?
1, 2, 3, and 7, 8, 9.
I thought 1, 2, and 3 were like the newer versions.
They are.
Okay, yeah, it was the later ones. Okay, so I hate saying this. I did not like the later ones because you can definitely tell they like how now these days you have a green screen, you have all this to where and the trick wires and whatnot. But I guess after watching later ones for a good few times, I kind of like the older ones just because of how they try to do the props, how they try to do stuff. And
so I'm not saying, like, obviously the older movies, they don't hold up visually as much to the test of time. I'm talking about story. Like, I don't know.
Story-wise.
I don't know if you're seeing much of the. I know you probably haven't seen much of the Star Wars canon, Chris, but I've watched a lot of the TV shows, like The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and Clone Wars and Rebels, Rebels is by far my favorite. I just had to get into it. But my point of this is Star Wars movies tend to be bad when they're based on a long arc. Like, even the first 3 movies with Jar Jar and all of that, they have their highlights, but they're just, everything's so rushed because it is very hard to tell a good story in a short amount of time. Whereas you have The Mandalorian, which sure has some bad episodes here and there, but overall is way better than a lot of the stuff, or a lot of the movies. And people would agree that it's better than a lot of the movies.
All I know is I fell asleep in the theater. I went to one of them. It was the one It was the one with I can't remember which episode it was, but it was the one where the kid gets his arm cut off.
Oh, you're talking about Luke?
No,
No,
No.
Anakin.
yeah,
Oh, Anakin. That's right.
And what's his name? Obi-Wan or whoever was like, I've got the high ground. And then he tries anyway and gets his arm cut off. Yeah, I fell asleep during that one.
yeah. Well, and see, that's my point is when you have these long, like that movie itself was like 2.5 hours long. So
I must
it's
have got a good nap at least.
so
Yeah,
because
right?
I've fallen asleep because you said that and I was like I fell asleep and woke up right at that point before. But if it was shorter, more condensed episodes, like if they took the first three, like the first three movies were good, but that's because they were short stories. You know, it wasn't necessarily a trilogy. It was story 1, story 2, story 3. With the prequel and the sequel, it was they were known to, they knew it was going to be trilogies. They had the stories. So they tried to do these in condensed, quick manner. Imagine if, let's take Lord of the Rings as a bad example because it's actually very good, but it's one book that was broken up into 3 movies, long movies at that. But let's say like Game of Thrones. Could you imagine if someone said, "I'm going to make a movie trilogy out of Game of Thrones," and each book was just a movie? It would be awful.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched Game of Thrones. I'm not a big TV. Like, I watch some TV, but I don't watch a lot of TV. So I don't really have much. Like, I never watched Star Wars, so I don't even know how to. I don't know how to answer that question because
No,
I just never really watched it.
No, I agree. I completely understand. I'm just saying that, like, I like the new movies. They were visually great. The story was, like, I have no problem with the characters or anything like that. It was just the story was all over the place. And if it was broken down and said it's a TV show with 3 seasons, I think they could have done a lot better job of progressing the plot, having side side plots and all of that stuff, and it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, most people don't have that attention span, though. You know what
Well,
I mean?
yeah, but
Kirk used to say it all the time. Just the attention span of someone to watch, because you start doing three seasons, you
I
have to break off.
disagree
You can't.
because look how popular Game of Thrones was until it wasn't.
Well, look how popular The Walking Dead was until it wasn't. I mean,
But
it's all.
The Walking Dead was. The Walking Dead was a.
I never watched it.
Well, my issue with it is it just kept going. Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a point, and most of the producers know what that point is.
but that's what I'm saying.
Should I make a movie out of this, or should I do a 8-part series? It could be debated. Are you?
No,
gonna...
I'm just this whole thing was just my opinion is the new Star Wars movies suck because they should have been a TV show. I think if they had kept everything the same, just done it as a TV show and added more context and story and plot, it would have been 100 times better. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll end that on this. We started season 1 of Mythbusters and we watched all the way through to season 18. Totally checks out. It was cool.
So now that we're off to this, we can go to I want to show you what I did. Do you remember?
Let's check it out.
That's right.
The 3D printed pizza. Photogrammetry 3D printed pizza.
I did it again. I don't have a picture of the other one, but I actually have 2 slices of pizza that I 3D scanned with my camera and printed.
That's funny. And it looks really good. Like it looks like the pizza.
Yeah, these turned out a whole lot better. And I'm assuming the photogrammetry software just got a little bit better. But here is the frog. That is not the frog. Here is the frog. Kind of. There we go. I can move this. So this is the dual extrusion frog. Or dual color extrusion frog. So see how it kind of has two colors to it?
Uh-huh.
That's all just from the filament.
So is it one of those filaments that is it spliced together two colors, or is
yes,
it
essentially?
Yeah.
Is
it like the rainbow filaments where it changes every
No.
so many meters?
Nope.
Or it's
No.
one side is red and one side is orange.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did we name the frog? Sunset?
I said it should be called Sunset.
So that reminds me of the mixing software that I use on my new printer. Is kind of how that does with that.
Yeah, essentially it's the same thing. I mean, yeah. It's just this filament is expensive and hard to find. I think Matter Hackers was the first one to do it, and then this is a knockoff.
A great knockoff.
I still kind of want to get a hold of the Matter Hacker stuff just to see if it's better. I mean, it's not bad, but right now we're printing a mechanical dragon with autumn colors. We'll have some more fun stuff to show next week. I spent almost all yesterday designing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lost Chris.
Yeah, I think we did too.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm here. All right. Technical difficulties. That's just what we do on Fuzed Relativity. So that's cool. I mean, it's a different way to run a filament. Like I said, my printer does that with its mixing. But it does it all at once so it mixes 3 different colors together at one time through the hot end. So it looks cool.
So, Chris, when you say mix, are you talking about like literally it melts all 3 colors in one?
Yes.
So you don't have like our 2-tone printer that's going on over here. You don't have something like that similar. It just all mixes into one color, which could be a random color.
No,
right.
it can do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So like in the mixing software on my printer, I can tell it to extrude 40% one color, 20% one color, and 40% the other color, and it will come out in. So if I say I want to do red, blue, and white, and I do 30% of each color, it's going to give me a light purple color.
Okay. That makes more sense. Sorry. You know me, I'm not techie savvy with 3D printers and all that like you and John. Well, mostly John.
So your guys' Saturn does dual extrusion, and
Neptune.
I don't know, John, if yours mixes or if it just does one at a time.
See, this is where I don't know, and I'll have to look, because theoretically, our printers are exactly the same. The only difference should be that you have a third nozzle, or third entrance into your hot end. I think they're doing something differently, and I think that's part of your problem was when we were talking about it is I think your heating is in that mixing chamber.
I can tell you this much. If I have a hexagon planner that I did, and I watched it as I did it, and all 3 extruders will run at the same time depending on how much I told it to put in. And when I mix blue and yellow, I get green.
Well, see, I understand that, and that's why I think yours is set up, and which is why it probably wasn't working. Like, I can't mix. I told you I was having an issue where the filament was down into the thing, and I was trying to push it forward, and it just wasn't printing. But that's because the filament was already in there.
Right.
So I think yours is heating where the colors mix, which is why it tends to clog more, and which is why it didn't understand to pull the filament back, because yours doesn't pull filament back.
No, it does not.
Yeah, so I think that's where the issue is G-Tech has done something weird with their printer.
But it's very cool. I mean, the ability to make different colors is pretty awesome, and I can make a very cool gradient effect on it, which is nice. Because I can tell it to start at 100% on one side and end at 100% on the other. And so you'll see the slow gradient as it goes up, much like that frog.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool, but it comes with drawbacks of clogs, and nobody likes clogs.
No.
So, but that's, you know, another time, another story. We figured out my issues, which was nice to finally get that done with.
Yeah.
And then I got a large surface print and really jacked up my heat bed because of it. So, live and learn.
Only way.
Yep.
What do we say? Go fast and fuck shit up. That's what we've been
Well,
trying
Yeah,
to
the
do.
motto.
I certainly
Which is
I
funny
certainly
because
did the latter.
well, and it's funny because I told you needed to get your printer fine-tuned by printing small stuff. And for someone who claims to think logically about stuff, that you kept trying to go full bore on a and do large scale stuff instead of trying little things to get it right.
Well,
just pointing that out there.
I like to think logically, but I'm also a bullet in China shop. So, you know, I've told you, John, I'm an enigma. Nobody knows what I am. All right. So,
Fair enough.
yeah. I work at the speed of Chris, which is God knows what. But anyway, well, I think we can go ahead and wrap her up. We got a frog staring at us with some weird eyeballs, and you know, he's got some crazy webbed feet going on, and you know. Danielle, thank you for joining us this week.
Of course.
Appreciate having 3 people on. 2
Even
people
though-
is just me and John arguing a lot, which is what we did anyway. So
Yeah.
True. I just did it in the back, just letting you two have at it.
everybody do check out Fuzed Crafts on YouTube and TikTok. She's got some good videos up there in case you're into the crafty stuff. It's
And Etsy. I have my store. Don't forget that.
yes, Etsy. Is it Fuzed Crafts on Etsy or is it something different?
Yep. Nope. Same thing.
Okay, so Fuzed Crafts on Etsy. Check out the popsicle with the resin because it was cool. I enjoyed that one. I don't know why. What can I say? But yeah, check
They worked, kind of.
check out her stuff. Also, D Infinity on TikTok, D Infinity X on TikTok. He's got some good 3D printing videos, and of course, we have our Fuzed Relativity channel. We haven't put up Space Engineers in a while, but we'll get back to it eventually. We're all just kind of working on our own projects at the moment, and that's not leaving a lot of time for Space Engineers, but we'll get back there eventually. So once again, Danielle, thanks for showing up this week. I don't
course.
know. Are you going to be on next week? I don't know the timeline.
Yes. At least next week, and then the week after that. At
Okay.
least for what I know, unless something changes.
So we've got a special guest for a couple weeks. Should be fun. Next week we'll line up some more stuff. Maybe we'll get some more crafty things in there if we can squeeze it in. John, anything to add before we go?
No, we'll probably talk about resin, but
Here we go. Bring it.
you can see why. So
All
yes,
right, I'm game. All right, well, everybody, thanks for watching this evening. We appreciate it. Episode 57, talking a little bit about Disney and the wrong IP theft. We'll have to talk about that one next, John, because I really had a whole thing lined up for identity theft or internet provider theft. But next time we should probably communicate better on our programming notes. 57 episodes in, you think we would have that down? Nope. Sorry, people. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Do check out our channels. We appreciate it. And until next week, go boldly, friends.